3,000 meters below the surface, a hulking squid drifts by, transparent flesh warped, eyes impossibly vast, arms bristling with hooks. Down here, pressure flattens steel, and the dark erases every familiar shape. This is the first truth of the deep. The further you descend, the stranger and more monstrous squids become. But why does the abyss remake ordinary creatures into nightmares? From flashes of unnatural light to bodies made of glass, the descent reveals something far more disturbing than myth or legend. Beneath the crushing black, evolution twists biology into secrets we are only beginning to uncover. The transformation starts higher than you think. Sunlight barely grazes the ocean at 200 meters, dissolving into a blue haze that fades with every stroke deeper. Here, in the twilight, squids begin their transformation. Reef squid drift just below the surface, their bodies rippling with pigment, chromatophores firing in waves of brown, gold, and electric blue. These living canvases vanish against coral and sand, masters of camouflage in a world still ruled by color. But as the light thins, color becomes a liability. The Firefly squid rises from the gloom, its body studded with tiny organs, each one a lantern. With a neural command, it ignites. Hundreds of blue lights flare along its arms and belly, erasing its shadow from predators below. In spring, millions gather off the coast of Japan, turning the water into a field of stars. The spectacle is beautiful and unsettling, a synchronized flash, a living constellation pulsing in the dark. Deeper still, the glass squid floats in near invisibility. Its body is almost pure jelly, so clear that organs hang suspended like ghosts inside a bell jar. A predator looking up sees nothing but the faintest shimmer. Along its underside, a line of photophores glows gently, matching the fading daylight above. Edith Widder once described this as nature's perfect trick, counter-illumination, a squid's way of erasing itself from the world. Steve Haddock explains that counter-illumination lets a squid erase its silhouette, matching downwelling light, becoming nearly invisible. In the twilight zone, the rules change. Pigment surrenders to transparency. Light is no longer for seeing, but for hiding. Here, the first weapons of the deep are not teeth or hooks, but the mastery of shadow and glow. The darkness presses in, and only those who can vanish survive. Yet even these tricks will not be enough for what waits below. At 1,000 meters, the last traces of sunlight are gone. The water is black, the cold absolute. Suddenly, the silence fractures. Humboldt squid, Dosidicus gigas, rise from the gloom, hundreds strong. Each is armed not with gentle suckers, but with rows of sharp hooks lining their tentacles like barbed wire. These are not drifting ghosts of the twilight, they are hunters. In the darkness, their skin pulses with electric flashes, white then crimson, then gone. The flashes ripple through the swarm, a language of violence and warning. Scientists have measured these pulses, less than 1 pulse per second, bright enough to cut through the murk for 20 meters. The signals coordinate the attack. Prey is surrounded in seconds, torn apart by hooked arms that leave deep wounds, sometimes even on each other. When food is scarce, Humboldt squid turn cannibal. Divers who have entered the water at night speak of the chaos. The water suddenly alive with flashing bodies, arms lashing out, wetsuits torn open by hooks. In 2009, a diver in the Sea of Cortez described feeling a dozen arms grab at his legs and arms, the pain sharp, the fear overwhelming. He kicked free, scrambling back to the safety of the cage, suit shredded, skin bruised and bleeding. In the aftermath, the sea glowed red with pigment released in the frenzy, a warning and a camouflage. The Humboldt aggression is not mindless. It is a strategy shaped by darkness and hunger, by the need to dominate a world where every meal could be the last. Here, in the midnight zone, the squid's body becomes a weapon and the pack a force of nature. The rules of the surface are forgotten. Only those who can outfight, outflash, and outlast survive. The deeper you go, the more the ocean demands, and the more the squid delivers. A glass jar sits in the archives of a German museum, sealed and silent. Inside, a pale squid the length of a finger floats in preservative, its body curled, its arms pressed close. This is Promachoteuthis sulcus, the so-called human teeth squid. Its mouth, ringed by fleshy lips, gives the illusion of a grin. Photographs have circled the world, a face from a fever dream, lips folded to mimic the shape of human teeth. The truth is stranger still. These are not teeth, not bone or enamel, but soft tissue, folded skin. Pale and ridged, draped over a dark, chitinous beak hidden beneath. The illusion is perfect, unsettling, and uniquely its own. The specimen was caught by chance in March 2007, trawled up from 1,842 meters in the South Atlantic, between Tristan da Cunha and South Georgia. It was netted in darkness, where pressure crushes the unprepared and only the most resilient survive. The crew preserved it immediately, logging every measurement, mantle length, arm span, the curious lips. The squid was sent to the Smithsonian's collection, labeled and catalogued, its chain of custody unbroken. No one has ever seen another like it, alive or dead. The depth is part of the mystery. Experts have studied the photographs and the specimen itself. Dr. Michael Vecchione and his colleagues describe the lips as a mystery, perhaps a shield for feeding, perhaps a sensory organ, perhaps a quirk of development brought on by the crushing depths. With only one example, science cannot say for certain. The deep sea is full of such ghosts, creatures known from a single body, never seen again. Each one is a caution, a reminder that the ocean's darkness hides not just monsters, but errors of perception. What seems monstrous may be a trick of anatomy, a fold of flesh mistaken for something more familiar. Yet the unease remains. One specimen, one mouth, one question. What else waits in the black, unseen, uncollected, misinterpreted? In the deep, certainty is as rare as sunlight. The jar remains sealed, the lips forever grinning in the dark. In the blackness between the surface and the abyss, a shadow stirs, longer than a city bus, silent as drifting ash. Architeuthis dux, the giant squid, glides through water colder than ice, its arms trailing like banners in a forgotten war. For centuries it was myth. Sailors spoke of monsters that dragged ships under, of tentacles rising from fathomless dark. Only in the last 2 decades has science caught more than a whisper. In 2004, Tsunemi Kubodera's cameras captured the first living giant in the North Pacific, 900 meters down, a single tentacle lashing toward bait, the moment trembling with centuries of unanswered questions. The giant squid's eye is the largest in the animal kingdom, spanning up to 27 centimeters across, wider than a dinner plate, built to gather the faintest glimmer. In perpetual night, these eyes are tuned to spot the ghostly glow of bioluminescence or the looming shadow of a hunting sperm whale. Every detail is a survival wager. The mantle can stretch 2 meters, and the reach of the longest arms can push total length past 14 meters, 45 feet. Suckers ringed with serrated chitin leave scars the size of coins on the heads of whales, proof written in flesh of encounters few have witnessed. Those scars find their echo inside sperm whale stomachs. Scientists have found hundreds of beaks there, silent records of a lifelong arms race. The giant squid's beak is a blade of chitin, sharp enough to shear flesh, hidden behind a mask of muscle and gelatin. Sperm whales dive thousands of meters to hunt them, guided by sound, risking deep wounds for a meal. Some whales return with pale circular scars, others carry tentacle fragments embedded in their flesh. Each encounter is a test of scale and strength, a private drama in a place without sunlight. Why grow so vast in the deep? The answer is dark arithmetic, cold logic, shaped by pressure and hunger. Food is rare, predators fewer still, and gigantism becomes advantage. A larger body stores more energy, a bigger eye gathers more light, a longer arm can snatch prey before it slips away. Cold water slows the heart and stretches the years, giving time for giants to grow. In the deep, size is not spectacle, size is strategy. The deeper the ocean, the more the rules bend, and the more monstrous the survivors become. What we know of these battles comes in fragments, in scars and beaks, and the rare grainy film. Each fragment points to an ecosystem run to extremes, where evolution pushes anatomy toward forms that seem monstrous to our surface eyes. The giant squid is not a monster for terror's sake. It is a solution shaped by darkness, pressure, and hunger. If these are the squids we have found, the question remains, what lurks deeper, still unseen? The ocean below keeps its counsel, and less than 5% of it has been explored. The next shadow may be larger, stranger, and it waits in a world we have only begun to imagine. At 4,000 meters, the ocean becomes a world of silence and suspension. Here, bodies lose the rigid architecture of muscle and bone. Instead, they dissolve into something like memory, transparent, weightless, almost formless. The abyssal squids drift with arms trailing behind them, impossibly long, impossibly thin. Their flesh is 90% water, laced with gelatin that matches the density of seawater so closely they neither rise nor sink. There is no need for speed. Energy is precious, every movement measured. Some species let their arms stretch out like fishing lines, waiting for the faint brush of prey in the dark. Others let the current carry them, their bodies so fragile that a careless touch could tear them apart. Muscle is a luxury here. Instead, these squids have perfected the art of stillness. Their tissues shimmer with a faint spectral glow, sometimes blue, sometimes green. Never enough to draw attention, just enough to vanish into the black. Scientists have measured arm-to-body ratios that defy the rules of the surface. Arms 6, 8, even 10 times the length of the mantle, drifting like silk ribbons in the current. In this world, survival is a matter of patience and invisibility. The abyss rewards those who can disappear, those who can wait. Fragility is not a weakness, but a strategy. To exist here is to surrender to the water, to become a ghost among shadows. At 1,500 meters, the water grows heavier, and the silence deepens. In these Antarctic depths, the colossal squid Mesonychoteuthis hamiltoni waits. This is not just another giant. Some specimens weighed and measured by scientists have tipped the scales at more than 1,000 pounds. Their mass alone is enough to warp the rules of the abyss, but it is their weaponry that sets them apart from every other squid. Along the arms, hooks curve outward, thick and sharp, mounted on rotating bases. Each hook can swivel, pivoting with the struggling movements of prey. Unlike the serrated suckers of the giant squid, these hooks are built for anchoring into flesh, for holding fast no matter how the victim thrashes. The mechanics are precise. A ball and socket joint at the root lets the hook twist without breaking, a design tested by the crushing pressure of the deep. Marine systematists have dissected these arms, tracing the chitinous root and the muscular sheath that controls the rotation, an engineering marvel in the dark. The colossal squid's beak is thicker and more robust than that of its giant cousin. It is capable of slicing through bone and cartilage, leaving marks even on the hides of sperm whales. In the Southern Ocean, beak fragments and scarred whale flesh tell the story of these hidden battles. Here, brute force is survival. The colossal squid is not a myth or a rumor, but a fact, a predator weighing more than 1,000 pounds, armed with hooks that spin and a beak that can break bone, drifting in a world where only the strongest endure. The water presses in, the darkness deepens, and the heavy silence returns. A pale shape drifts into view, limbs trailing like wires in the dark. It hangs in the water, arms bent at impossible angles, each joint forming a sharp elbow. This is Magnapina, the bigfin squid, a creature so rare that fewer than 20 specimens have ever been recorded by science. No one has captured a living adult. Scientists first saw it in grainy ROV footage deep in the Gulf of Mexico, the West Florida escarpment, and in black canyons off Australia. The deepest confirmed sighting was over 4,700 meters down. Its arms and tentacles stretch more than 6 meters, sometimes longer than a city bus, dangling straight down in slow, ghostly concert. The posture is unmistakable, elbows bent at 90 degrees, appendages trailing below, moving with the current as if the animal is more shadow than flesh. ROV pilots have logged their reactions, shock and awe, a sense that something not meant for daylight has drifted into view. One log entry described an otherworldly thing, arms moving in slow concert, stretching off the screen. Scientists measure limb length using laser dots projected by the submersible, the dots 10 centimeters apart, scaled pixel by pixel across the drifting arms. Even these measurements are uncertain. The squid's limbs rarely extend fully, and the camera lens warps the distance. Some researchers believe even larger bigfin squids remain unseen, deeper still, out of reach of any light, any net, any human eye. In this world, the unknown is not an absence but a presence. It is felt in the hush after the ROV lights fade, when the ghostly arms vanish into the black. At these depths, survival is written in chemistry. Every cell is shielded by a molecular armor, an invisible suit forged from trimethylamine oxide, known as TMAO. With each 1,000 meters, TMAO levels climb, rising by 30 millimoles per kilogram for every kilometer descended. In shallow squids, TMAO is a trace. In the giants of the abyss, it saturates every tissue, bracing proteins against the crushing force of the water. Without it, enzymes would buckle, nerves would misfire, life would unravel. But squids go further. Their bodies rewrite themselves from within. Through RNA editing, they fine-tune the shape and function of their proteins in real time, adapting to cold, pressure, and darkness at the molecular level. This is not evolution by slow mutation, but a living flexibility, an internal laboratory always adjusting. The deeper the squid, the more fluid its biology becomes, each molecule a small act of resistance against the dark. Only a thin sliver of the deep ocean has been touched by human eyes. 95% remains uncharted, an abyss where evolution writes new rules. Squids thrive here because their bodies and minds bend to meet the unknown. Their nervous systems are among the most adaptable in the animal kingdom, rewiring proteins in real time through RNA editing, a molecular trick that lets them survive where pressure and cold would unravel most life. The hunt for these creatures now relies on machines, robotic submersibles, high-pressure cameras, and traces of genetic material drifting in the water. DNA lets scientists detect a squid's presence from a single cell. Each new dive, each filtered sample, hints at lineages never seen, shapes more alien than any yet described. The frontier is not just darkness, it is possibility. Today, more than 95% of the deep ocean remains unseen, its darkest trenches hiding life beyond imagination. As technology finally pierces these depths, each new encounter with a squid stranger than the last reminds us that life adapts in ways we can scarcely predict. The monsters of our nightmares may simply be evolution's next experiment, patient and unfathomable in the black below. If these are the squids we found, what lurks deeper, still unseen?